But I was also acutely aware that no one was going to come and hand me a company on a plate. Like, here's this company to run. you person with no experience, and, you know, you kind of jumped up 24-year-old. And so I was very like acutely aware that I'd have to do it myself. And that's where it came from. Like, you know, I'd love to say that I had this like great idea and this great ambition, but it came out of like frustration and not being paid enough and feeling like I wasn't getting the value back that I put in. That's the honest answer.
Yeah, no, and I think that's very relatable. I think most people are in positions like that, but that doesn't lead to the courage to do it because we feel like, well, what if it doesn't work?
Yes.
What will my friends say? What, you know, and all those kind of things that come up because we're scared. Even for me, like I remember I had a steady job and this is after I'd left the monastery. I'd come back home. I'd finally found a steady job. I was dating
It's such a good sentence, after I left the monastery. Isn't it good?
It's
you should try and wind that in anyway. I'd be like, so after I left the monastery.
I was just trying to give context, Emma. This is the British banter. Like, Emma's like fully, I love it.
I don't have a sentence like that and I want one. I might just take it.
After
bang it out.
You've got Ibiza, you've got plenty. But no, so I was in this steady job and it was like, I was dating my now wife and I remember going, this is not working for me. Mm-hmm. Like, and I wasn't killing it and I wasn't doing badly. I was doing all right. But I just knew it wasn't my place.
Yes.
And I remember I probably spent 2 years there feeling that way.
Totally.
Right?
Totally.
Like you kind of just,
100%.
You're just thinking about it, reflecting on it. You're like, what do I do? What if it doesn't work? And so walk us through that a little bit, because I think a lot of our listeners may actually be feeling that way. A lot of our audience is actually listening going, you know what? I'd love forget doing what Emma's done now. I'd just love to get out of where I am now because it's, you know what I mean?
I think the truth of it was that I've never been that scared of failing.
Yeah.
Right. And for me, at that time in my life, I was making a small amount of money. It's fair to say that I didn't have any, you know, no one was relying on me to pay rent. Or I had a tiny little, I lived in like a high rise in East London with no front door and a gate on the door, no oven, just a microwave, no fridge. I put my milk on the balcony just to paint the picture of like where I was at that time in my life. It was rough. And honestly, what I thought is that how could I lose? Like at this point, I could always go and get another similarly not inspiring job. And so that idea of like fear of not failing was really key. But I also I've always been very honest with myself. Like, you know, everybody has a voice in their head and some people have a voice that like chaps them up, you know, it's like I do, but I also have that voice that's like, Emma, like, know what you don't know. Like, don't be too silly in this situation. So I think that I really, in that instance where I decided like, let's get out of this job and try to go and do something else, it was enough understanding of it wasn't that good where I was. If it really didn't work out, I could always get back into something like that. But also that thing that just says, what happens if you don't do it? You know, like for me, I was miserable and I really saw a better life for myself. And I was like, I will just regret this when I'm 35, for example.